Hello and welcome everybody. I hope everyone is doing healthy and great today. My name is Fisa and I will be leading this Studio 3 IELTS webinar titled Passport to a New Life. IELTS, short for International English Language Testing System, is an English language exam that is required to be taken by international candidates considering studying or working abroad. Most popular countries where IELTS is accepted for university admissions are the UK, Australia, New Zealand, USA, and Canada. The exam mainly measures the ability of test takers to communicate in the 4 basic English language skills: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. I'm here today to help you improve your knowledge and idea of what IELTS is exactly. As always, the first message that I like to put out is if you want to get good scores, you have to get better at English. Doing a practice test is definitely ideal, but you need to do more than just mock tests. And that's really because IELTS is a test of your real level of English. I also personally believe one needs to be mentally and emotionally prepared to dive into IELTS preparation, as it's a structured exam with specific timing given for all the skills. So our aims today will be talking in 3 parts: why choose IELTS, what are the test components, and how can Studio 3 help? Right, so why choose IELTS? IELTS helps achieve life goals, right? Mainly, individuals take the IELTS exam for 3 different reasons. Reason number 1 being to further their higher education, and this can be in a local or international university, internally or externally. Secondly, for career growth, employability, and career progress. And finally, for immigration, moving from one country to another. Global recognition. The IELTS exam is jointly owned and conducted by IGP Education Australia, British Council, and Cambridge English Language Assessment. With the number of IELTS tests grew to a record of 3.5 million in the year 2019, it has become a leader in the area of international higher education. So over 10,000 organizations in 140 countries. It is accepted in 100% of universities in the UK and Australia, New Zealand, and most universities in Canada. Also, it is accepted in more than 3,400 institutions in the US and thousands of institutions in English-speaking countries. Immigration authorities in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK accept IELTS as part of their immigration process. And finally, many employers and professional registration bodies are also accepting IELTS as part of their recruitment process. So these are really the countries that IELTS has been taken. So test features. Rigorous test development, so all documents, feedbacks from every test have been taken into serious consideration. Unlike other tests, IELTS have always tested all 4 competencies, believing it's the only way to have a complete picture of a candidate level. So the test uses international English, meaning no bias to British or American English. So there'll be a variety of English accents and texts in regards to real life contexts. Students have the choice of taking the test on pen and paper or on the computer. Usually the test on pen and paper is available 4 times a month, whereas on computer it's slightly more. The test is valid, reliable, and secure, ensuring tests are fair and objective with strict pre-post security measures. What are the test components? In IELTS, there are 4 papers: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. There are 2 different IELTS models: academic and general training. The speaking and listening tests are the same in both modules, but the reading and writing tests are different. To come to a decision on whether IELTS academic or IELTS general training, you have to have an answer to that question. IELTS academic focuses on entry to college, university, professional registration, whereas IELTS general training focuses on immigration, vocational, and secondary educational and language training, and also work experience. So without further ado, let's get started with our first skill. Listening test content. So in your IELTS listening, we have 4 different sections with 10 questions each. The questions are designed so that the answers appear in the order that they are heard in the audio. The paper format includes different sections. So the first 2 sections deal with situations set in everyday social contexts. In section 1, there is a conversation between 2 speakers, for example, a conversation about travel arrangements. This is usually a single speaker. And in section 2, there is a monologue in, for example, a speech about local facilities. So the final 2 sections deal with situations set in educational and training context. In section 3, there is a conversation between 2 main speakers, for example, 2 university students in discussion, perhaps guided by a tutor. And in section 4, there is a monologue on an academic subject. So academic subject meaning can really be about anything from geography to history to, right? So it's really generalized. So the recordings are heard only once, and they include a range of accents, including British, Australian, New Zealand, American, and Canadian. And the timing is half an hour, so you have 30 minutes to complete 40 number of questions. And the task types are a variety of questions, and they're chosen from the following, like multiple choice, matching, plan, map, diagram, labeling, form, note, table, flowcharts, summary completions, and sentence completion. So answering, when test takers write their answers on the question papers as they listen, and at the end of the test are given 10 minutes to transfer their answers to an answer sheet. So care should be taken when writing answers on the answer sheet because poor spelling and grammar are penalized. So for example, if it's supposed to be a singular, but the candidate had written a plural, that would be wrong. And each question is worth 1 mark. Next, we have our reading test. And here we have 3 reading passages with a variety of questions using a number of task types. So usually it's around 1,500 to 2,000 words each, the text itself. And the level of difficulty, it could vary for which module you're taking. So general training is usually easier. You have about an hour for your reading test, and you have to complete 40 number of questions. That's 40. So the task types are a variety of questions chosen from the following. Again, multiple choice, identifying information, identifying the writer's views or claims, matching information, matching heading, matching features, sentence completion, table completion, flowchart completion. So this really kind of task types. And the texts are taken from books. The sources include books, journals, magazines, newspapers, and have been written for a non-specialist audience. So all the topics are of general interest. They deal with issues which are interesting, recognizably appropriate and accessible to test takers entering undergraduate or postgraduate courses or seeking professional registration. So the passages also may be written in a variety of styles, for example, narrative or descriptive, discursive or argumentative, right? So at least one test contains detailed logical argument. So text may contain non-verbal materials such as diagrams, graphs, or illustrations. And if text contains technical terms, a simple glossary will be provided. So when answering, test takers are required to transfer their answers to an answer sheet during the time allowed for the test, meaning within the 1 hour, you are to complete your reading tasks and transfer them to your answer sheets. There are no time that is allowed, extra allowed to transfer your answers. And each question is worth 1 mark. Next, writing test content. So here the paper format, there are 2 writing tasks and both must be completed. You have 1 hour and the task types are different. In task 1, test takers are asked to describe some visual information. So you will be given a graph or a table or a chart or a diagram, and you are to describe what you see in your own words. So you need to write 150 words in about 20 minutes is recommended. And in task 2, you respond to a point of view or argument or problem. So you will need to write 250 words in about 40 minutes because the total timing you have is 1 hour. So obviously knowing the right format, your introduction, body, your conclusion, all of that adds more marks. So answering must be given on the answer sheet and must be written in full. Notes or bullet points are not acceptable as answers. So test takers may write on the question paper, but this cannot be taken from the examination room and will not be seen by the examiner. So what are you marked on exactly? You are marked on your task achievement. And this is how much have you been able to answer the question, right? Have you answered it accurately or correctly? And secondly, your lexical resource. Have you used the correct vocabulary? Not necessarily a sophisticated vocabulary, just the right vocabulary into the context that is being used. Finally, you have your coherence and cohesion. And this is really if you are able to provide ideas and connect them, right, to what the question wants you to do exactly. Finally, you have your grammatical range and accuracy. This is how well is your grammar and sentence structure. Have you used the correct sentences? Are you able to use complex structures, right? So it really focuses on that. Next, you have your speaking test content. And keep in mind that it can be conducted in different days, and it could be before or after your listening, reading, and writing, which are on the same day. So your listening, reading, and writing skills are usually on the same day, one after another, whereas your speaking can be conducted in a different day. And students are required to come 1 hour before the speaking for registration process. So your paper format, the speaking test consists of an oral interview between the test taker and an examiner. Keep in mind that all speaking tests are recorded and the timing allowed is 11 to 14 minutes. So you've got different task types. There are 3 parts to the test and each part fulfills a specific function in terms of interaction pattern. So task input and test takers output. In part 1, you'll be able to have a one-on-one conversation. So it's an individual student with an examiner, and these questions are really basic. So it's about what's your name, where are you from, do you work or study, and questions on hobbies, on school, neighborhood, city, just really the basic things. And keep in mind not to have a one-word answer. So for example, if the examiner did ask you, where do you live, and you answer Spain, for example, that's not really recommended. You want to add to your sentence. So for example, you could say, I am currently living in Spain, or I moved out to Spain about 2 years ago, right? So really the point is not to have a one-word answer. In part 2, it's called individual long-term. So students will be provided with a topic card and 1 minute to prepare. So then you will be asked to speak for 2 minutes non-stop, right? So time session. So once the 2 minute is up, you will be stopped. So don't worry. Topics are related to current affairs, for example, a holiday or vacation that you've had, and you have to have your wheres and whys and what ready. Part 3, you have a two-way discussion on abstract issues about your opinion. So do you think going on holiday is important? Depending on the topic card that is given, a further discussion will be taking place. So note that there's no right or wrong answers really, because this is your personal opinion. So what do you mark on? Again, same fluency and coherent lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and your pronunciation. A lot of students actually ask if they are being marked on their accents, and the answer is no. If you have an accent that is perfectly fine, perfectly normal, you're not marked on that, but you are marked on your pronunciation. So although you have an accent, you need to know that the pronunciation, so as the samples given, where or where, right? What should you remember on the test day? Obviously, timing is very, very important, as there also may be other candidates that are there, and you may have to register, not may, you will have to register, and location-wise, you have to have everything pre-prepared. There may be a lot of students that day, so timing is very important. You cannot take a mobile phone into the test hall, obviously. Bring a pen and at least 2 sharpened pencils, and bring the ID that you used when you registered for the test, that exact one. And report, as I mentioned earlier, that your speaking test is different from your other skills test. So also report 1 hour before your appointment time. So your IELTS band scale, your highest band score is 9, whereas your lowest is 0. And keep in mind, right, that this is a halfway. So it could be in the sense where it could be if you finally have a band 5, right? You could also have a 5.5 or a 7.5 or a 3.5, right? So it's basically it's a whole band, half band scores. And how it all comes together. So you see here, candidate A, listening 6.5, reading 6.5, writing 5, speaking 7, and the average score is 6.25. But the band score automatically comes 6.5. So depends on where you're applying also, as different institutions require different band scores, right? We need to make sure of that. And basically, this is the law of average is applied in this sense, where you can see candidate C, for example, 6.5, 6.5, 5.5, 6, average score being 6.125, and the band score being 6 as it's nearest to 6. So when and how to get your results, if you have taken the paper-based test, you will be able to review your results after 13 calendar days from the test date itself. So if you have taken the computer delivered test, you will be able to review your results after 3 to 5 calendar days from the test date itself. The IELTS Institute will send out a paper copy of your IELTS test score, the test report from TR by mail delivery 2 to 3 days after your results release date. And finally, IELTS results will not be disclosed over the phone or through email, so keep that in mind. How can Studio 3 help you? So our teachers have more than 3 years of experience, meaning that they specialize in the IELTS course itself. And we are supportive with our students, both mentally and emotionally, because we do acknowledge the fact that individuals may be working or studying or having other life things to deal with. So we do acknowledge that, and we try to go around their personal journey. We conduct weekly conversation club classes, meaning in the studio itself, you could practice your English with other students. We have the best ways for us to identify students' needs, strength, and limitation. And this is why when students first come, the first class is usually an introduction of IELTS, obviously, but also we try to get to know the student in a personal way, the strength and their weakness or their limitations, right? We customize lessons based on the background of that individual and group classes. So we really understand and learn individuals or groups' background so that our IELTS lessons can be efficient and effective to that specific individual or group. Vital tips and tricks for students to know what to expect from the question and for the examiners to know what to expect from the student. As I did mention in the beginning of this presentation, that IELTS is a structured examination. So you have a lot of tips and tricks to learn throughout all the 4 skills, and we provide all of them. And finally, social proof. Up till now, all of our IELTS students have achieved the band that they needed. All of them are happy and successful in their personal and professional journey. And this is the end of our presentation for IELTS, Passport to a New Life, and would like to thank you for attending this presentation and hope to see you in Studio 3 sometime in the future very soon. So have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.